GearWebsites.com is your source for firearms-based playing cards and books. We also have mugs, shirts, and posters with designs that we've made live. Of course, we have patches. Every Friday is Free Patch Friday. We appreciate your support. Thank you for shopping at GearWebsites.com. AskGunQuestions.com is a website that we built back in 2007. And since then, for the last 15 years, people have been able to ask questions of simple to advanced nature, and we attempt to answer them in different ways over the years. Join us now as we start a new series to answer gun questions. Welcome, everybody. Of course, there's no one here this week. I'm pretty sure they hate guns now. I wish there was a way to unplug the fans, but nothing I can do. All right, is the audio back now? Jam something in there? Jeez. Seriously? Can you hear him? Or is the noise canceling killing him? Sounds like I got a paper airplane on my face. Or a remote controlled airplane, I guess. That did nothing. Oh man, I don't know if we're gonna be able to have a live show today. So Tony and Clover obviously aren't into guns anymore. I guess they just hate guns. I gave them a link, I don't know, 10 minutes ago, and they still haven't shown up. What is wrong with this computer? All right, well, maybe it'll just die. Well, I guess if it dies, then we won't be on air. I found the fans for it. They're $50, so I'm waiting to accumulate $50 in a pile so that I can attempt to grab them fans real quick. Anyhow, since we don't got Tony or Clover here today, we'll just go to my best friend on the internet, which is the robot internet, and I will ask it, what are the most common questions about guns from new gun owners? I'm going to put that in there and see what happens. Oh, man. It's killing me. The new gun owners have a range of questions related to the safe and responsible use, maintenance, and ownership of firearms. That already sounds super anti-gun, right? What is the process of purchasing a gun legally? What type of firearm should I choose for my needs and experience level? How do I properly store a gun to ensure safety? What are the laws and regulations in my area regarding gun ownership, concealed carry, and open carry? How can I safely transport my firearm in a vehicle? How do I properly clean and maintain my firearm? What safety measures should I take when handling a firearm? What type of ammunition is best for a specific firearm? How can I improve my shooting accuracy and technique? How do I choose the right holster or other accessories for my firearm? Number 11 is, what are the best practices for home defense using a firearm? And number 12, are there any recommended firearm safety courses or training programs for new gun owners? All right. I'm sure those are pretty good because it knows the internet up until like last September or a couple of Septembers ago. And then, it's telling us what it has heard. Then it ends. It's crucial for new gun owners to educate themselves on gun safety, local laws, and proper handling techniques to ensure responsible use of firearms. Just out of curiosity, I'm going to say, what are the most common questions about? And the same thing, like same AI. I'm in AI 4, by the way, or chatbot 4, whatever it's called. What are the most common questions about cars from new car owners? And let's see how many it gives me. New car owners often has various questions, blah, blah, blah. What is the break-in period? How should I drive during this time? How often should I change the oil? What is the recommended tire pressure? How do I connect the smartphone to the entertainment? What is the proper procedure for jump starting my car? How often should I rotate my tires? What's the correct way to check and maintain fluid levels? How do I use the car's safety features such as adaptive cruise control? What type of fuel is recommended? How can I maximize my car's fuel efficiency? When should I replace air filters? How do I properly maintain a car interior? Now I'm going to ask it, why are new car owners so lax about safety while new gun owners seem to care predominant about? Because I didn't see one question in there about what movie was this gun in, or how can I save my money buying this gun? How can I buy a gun that's going to help me in 6 different ways? Just out of curiosity, I asked it this. Oh, look who's joining us, Tony. Tony's changed his mind and started like guns again.
Oh, hey, what's going on, guys? Yeah, me and Clover at a Mom's Demand luncheon. Was really great. Yeah.
French fries, French toast.
Yeah, French fries,
dips. Yep.
None of that freedom crap.
I kicked him out. I would not stand for someone to be late to this chat, so I kicked him out. You can't be 8 minutes late to this chat. Not expect consequences. Probably driving or something. All right, so I asked it, why are new car owners so lax about safety and new gun owners seem to care predominantly about safety? And then the stupid-ass robot says, it's not appropriate to generalize the attitudes of all new gun owners or new car owners, as individuals have different perspectives and priorities. Here you go. Are you driving?
No, actually, the computer slipped, and when I went to, I'm using a pad, and when I went to catch it, I obviously hung up.
So we just kind of got started here. I just barely set it up here. Thanks for jumping in. I had just started the chat up, and I only sent you guys the link like 5 minutes ago. So I was asking the robot brain, what are questions that new gun owners ask? And it was all a bunch of basically anti-gun crap. Oh, new gun owners only care about how to safely worry about the laws, or responsibly worry about how to safely worry about the laws. So then I asked it, what do new car owners worry about? And they're like, how to polish it, how to get the best gas mileage, where to go, this and that and the other thing, everything you think about when you're free, right? And then I asked it right now, why are new car owners so lax about safety? Because nothing in there was about safety except for how to use the robot safety stuff. And then why are gun owners to seem predominantly care about safety? So then it says, you can't generalize owners. However, there might be some factors contributing to the perception that new car owners are lax about safety, while new gun owners prioritize familiarity. Cars are more commonplace. All right, I'll give them that. and many grew up around them. This familiarity might lead to some car owners to feel more confident in their knowledge of cars and underestimate the importance of safety measures. Man, I like everything about that answer, really. In contrast, firearms might seem less familiar, leading them to take safety more seriously. That's awesome. Okay, I'll accept that answer. Then there's
Yeah,
four.
that was a good Uno reverse card there. But,
Yeah, exactly. There's four of them. The next one is licensing and training. In many countries, a driver's license is required, which involves passing tests. The process can create a perception of competence, even for a new car owner. Firearms often require a license or permit. Sorry, I'm reading fast. And the process might
the heck?
one too, but that's society, right? Society telling them once you got your driver's license, go nuts, buddy. Don't get drunk driving, wink, wink. Don't be drunk driving. Don't speed, wink, wink. That bullshit. So with a gun, oh no, what are you doing? You don't even know where you can carry that legally or not. What are you doing? Oh my goodness. Oh no, you're gonna hurt yourself. Then the third one is perceived consequences. Accidents involving firearms can have immediate and severe consequences, which make new gun owners more cautious and safety oriented. On the other hand, car accidents are relatively common, and many people have experienced minor accidents without severe consequences, potentially leading to complacency among some new car owners. At first, I was going to go, nah, but then it kind of hit me in the head right there.
Oh, they nailed it on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, stupid. That's pretty smart. So then the next one is last one, social norms and media portrayal. Firearms are often portrayed as dangerous and lethal in media, which can influence new gun owners to prioritize safety. Meanwhile, cars are regularly depicted as means of transportation or leisure with less focus, on the potential dangers involved. All right, well, I'll give it, it's just being a robot and it's right. But that's I think, shining a light on the, what is that called? The Overton window that has shifted gun ownership over, right?
Yeah, well, it also points out that there's not a lot of responsibility when it comes to driving and safe driving, and it's like there's no real concern because I've been in cars, I've watched people drive cars, I've ridden in cars, and it's like, yeah, but it's a lot more. It's a lot more complicated, as we all realize. Growing up, when you're watching your dad drive, open a soda, talk to your mom, get something out of the back seat, eat a sandwich, and you think you can do all that the minute you get your driver's license, and it's like 10 and 2 death grip on the steering wheel and going, oh my God, all these windows, I have to see out of them and see what's coming and keep it in the middle of the lane and maintain the speed limit. And it's like, yeah, you got to learn this. We just had our diversity shoot Thursday night, and we had a significant portion of them be new gun owners or people who never fired a gun. And one of the gentlemen there with him and his wife, their whole thing was they're looking for a handgun for home security and home defense. And he'd done all of his research, and he was 100% dedicated to just show me 9mm handguns, and that's what I want to see. So what his research was as a new gun owner, or because again, he's not a gun owner yet, but he's filled out all his paperwork, and he's going to buy one shortly, mainly because his permit runs out on, I think, May 11th. So we had him shoot Glocks, we had him shoot Smith & Wessons, we tried to get him to shoot a SIG, but it was in 40 and he wouldn't touch it, which was really weird. But it was interesting to hear what he had to say, what some of the other new guys had to say about, like, how do I buy one? That was one of their questions. What do I have to go through? What's the difference between, 9, 40, that kind of thing. And then a lot of it was like, why would I own a 9mm carbine as opposed to a 5.56? Those were, I think, some of the questions I got. So it was interesting.
So people you get like a couple of volunteers that show up, and then you get a bunch of people that want to experience shooting for the first time, and then they show up and you all hang out for a bit, and then the people that volunteer start to take people one at a time into the shooting area to shoot, and then everybody else hangs out and chats?
Kind of sort of depends on how many people we have. I try to keep it down, depending on the size of the range. We were at the Union Hill Gun Club, and we had 5 lanes assigned to us in their upstairs range on the right side, because they have an upstairs, downstairs, and they have a right and a left. So we had 5 lanes to us, which is really great. So it was only our guys there. And we had my 5 instructors go in, and then we had the people come in a group because we didn't have it overpacked. We had 14 individuals show up. At this one, I try to limit it to 20 when we're there. So if we try to limit it so everybody gets a chance to shoot and rotate in and out and not crowd that one, range. And some were father, son, grandfather, and the grandfather's brother, I think. So that was a whole generation, and they didn't mind being together and standing together. But what we did was split them up immediately and have them go to different ports, because the point of the thing is to meet other people and talk to other people, even if it's on the range. And I think that's what we achieve. The other point is to introduce them to different guns. All of my guys, if they aren't officially trained, as in certified, they have been training people and introducing people to firearms for minimum a decade. And many of them, at least 20 years. So their experience with this, we've been blessed with a couple of guys. One's a military trainer. So he's been training, like he has that down. He went to USCCA and he has their certification. Then he went to NRA and he has their instructor certification. And we like sending the people to him and to my guy Rosie, who's been training people to shoot for almost 6 decades now. So we had a bunch of new people. We send them out to them, and then we have our newer guys. And again, I think the one that has the least amount of time instructing people is like 10 years. So our guys have been around the block. They've talked to different people, and we try to make them comfortable. I really wish we had more female volunteers because that helps a lot. Our female instructors, like Rihanna, she's gone and got her certification for NRA. We have Sandy, who is she's an actual firearms instructor that has her own company, and she also is the Lehigh Valley. They don't call them presidents, but she's the head of the Lehigh Valley Club for Girl in the Gun. And she comes out and she tells her story and trains women and introduces them to firearms too. And it makes them feel more comfortable, I think, when they see a lady out there, and it's not all dudes, even though our guys are between the ages of, mid 30s to Rosie, who's in his early 60s. It's still not a woman. You know what I mean? So they may be intimidated by it. So that's what we do. We bring them in, we introduce them, we get them out there. We have discussions beforehand. We eat pizza, tell jokes, do a raffle, and try to make people feel comfortable. And of course, ask them to ask questions the entire time from the beginning to the end. We want to have a conversation. We don't want to waste this time. So if just the official thing starts at 6 to 9, but usually people start showing up at 5:30, and we try to break the ice and get them to talk to us even then. Like, why are you here? What are you looking to learn from it? Have you shot a gun before? That kind of thing. It's all about getting to know you and introducing you to this right in every aspect.
So ask the robot, what's the most common questions? So you're kind of talking about that right there. What's the most, is there a, not extreme, but like an oddball or a left field question that is a new person is brought to an event?
I mean, we've had occasionally the why would anyone need an AR-15 kind of thing. We had that. That wasn't unexpected.
You yell at them about your rights.
Really
loud. That way it changes their mind.
We yell at them, call them redcoats, and status, and then we have a boot we bring out that we put on their neck, around their neck, and make them lick it. That's what we do. No, we actually, what's really cool is my guys have learned to take their turn and actually make a point and not dogpile on them. So we have a conversation. It doesn't look like everybody's like chomping at the bit. Because it's funny because the very first time everybody was like, me, Mr. Cotter, me, Mr. Cotter. And they just wanted to, hit them with the facts. And it's like now
You don't really
one
ever get
person.
a chance to have a conversation very often, unless it's like family, and then it turns into, you can't know because I know you, right? Like you're my
Yeah.
younger brother-in-law or something, you can't know, so I'm not going to take your, I'm not going to take your position. So that's
You
kind of
couldn't figure it out. Yeah, it helps, but it also helps that we've learned. I mean, we knew everyone in the room can't speak at once. So one at a time, one person will answer the question. If somebody leaves something out, they're like, and can I add this real quick? And then we have that. So we try to have a decent actual conversation. And we also give our backgrounds a little bit. So it's not just somebody stating an opinion, it's someone who's, fill in the background, military, law enforcement, firearms trainer, um, hunter. So yeah, we have time behind the trigger. We've used this. It's not just us repeating talking points from somewhere else. It's things we actually know about. We have reloaders. We have black powder people. So we can kind of answer your question about, the horribly powerful AR-15 in the 5.56 round. We also know the laws and statistics between all of my guys. You can actually get resources to this is where this came from, and this is where this came from, and the police use AR-15s because of the ability to fit a lot of people and still be an effective firearm. So the smallest person to the tallest person can use an AR and not get beat up with it. It's accurate out to, from home defense distances out further if need be, and we can answer those questions. We also talk to them about legislation, how they play with words, and how when they say we need to ban the AR-15, they mean every semi-automatic firearm, including, tube fed and things like 22s. It's like it's never what it seems with these people. They use words to make you believe you're talking
Well,
about.
I forget. I don't know what the name of it is, but when they point at a machine gun, they point at something that has a mechanical definition and is an established item that we've had for a long time. So they point at a machine gun and then say AR-15, and then when we challenge them on the definition or the accuracy of what they're saying versus what they're pointing at, then they'll say, like you're just saying, "Oh no, we mean semi-automatic," and that's their. I don't know what that's called, but it's like the third card shuffle bullshit where, oh, we're going to put three things on the table. And then when you call us on putting anything on the table, we remove one thing and go, my bad. I'm sorry. Oh, no big deal. Oh, I had a misunderstanding. But what we're really all in agreement on is semi-automatics. It's like, no, they're not dumb. They've been to school. They understand the simple stuff that children figure out whenever they're, figuring this stuff out as little kids and figuring it all out, whatever, just like their sports or whatever, when you're young and you like your cars and you like your computers and you like your whatever it is you're figuring out. These are nothing, guns are nothing all that difficult. The minutia of them, can take a while, but the generalities is super easy to figure out. They're not that incapable. And if they are incapable, then they're not capable. Right. But that's something that, too often, and that's something that I've been upset with for a while and frustrated with, I guess, because it's been fairly obvious that the people in our realm, the people that are in defense of the rights through the political system or the, activism side or the courts or whatever it happens to be, the people that are involved there, they get aware, they become interested, they figure they got something to do, and then nothing happens, they get ground away, they get distracted, they just walk away because there's nothing that is there for there's no bleachers. There's like the little line that you're not allowed to cross, that little like ribbon or whatever, there's like the thing that keeps the crowds away. You can walk up and you can see what's going on, but if you want to hang out, there's no chairs, there's no benches or nothing. There's no ability to be a part of this whole thing. So you have to really be temporary. And I think that's where they get us, because it works on both sides. The people that are making money on both sides of it are better off when people aren't sticking around and fighting for a long time. So the politicians who are against us depend on that shit, that we don't stick around and challenge them on that like little shuffle or whatever. That there's a name for that when you, I don't think it's gaslighting. There's like a name though for that, like bait and switch bullshit, when you use wordplay like you're saying to, and they've done it so many times over and over. And anybody who's been around for any length of time can realize that they have like a playbook of like, I don't know, let's say 18 or 20 plays, and they just go through them. And they may know them not in the same exact order, but they're certainly like, okay, we haven't used this one in a while. We bring it up, see how it works. Didn't work, put it back in the rotation. You know, there's a couple they go to every time. And then there's a couple that they'll test every once in a while. And that's where I think we're ranting here, but that's where we fail, when we let them use those same old plays all the time. We've done a pretty good job since 15, I guess, making them come up with new plays, making their plays ineffective, but we haven't like stopped the whole bullshit playing the game anymore. You know, we could stop the game really.
We're working at it. And when you're in something like what we do, you don't want to beat them up, but you want to point them to where things are different. You want to point them to resources that are, because some of these people aren't anti-gun, but they've been consuming this stuff for so long that they think it's true. And you have to point out where they can actually get facts at, like when we pointed out the CDC study of firearms use that was done under Obama, and you find out that, you know, over almost 250,000 people a year defend themselves with a firearm. And it's like, you know, that's 4 times the number of firearms related deaths. And understand that we're the only country that uses suicide in those statistics. No other country uses suicides as, quote, air quote, gun violence statistics. And when I break it down, they're looking at you like, what? I'm like, yeah, they're playing you. The mass shooting, school shooting is less than 1% of firearms related deaths in this country. And they don't talk about how to solve the other 99%. If they really cared, they would talk about that. If you're talking about gun violence deaths, then how do we work on the 99% without infringing on others' rights? Because the numbers, again, are 3 times as many people rescue themselves. So if you take the guns away from those people, that's minimum 250,000 violence victims that you're allowing to happen because of this 1% or less than 1%. And I'm not ranting, I'm not raving, I'm not screaming cold dead hands or 1776. But I'm like, how do we solve a problem? Are we really interested in solving the problem? Or are they more interested in using these deaths to frighten you into giving up a right? And then I talk about my regular job. I was like, when we're talking about school shootings, we've seen the videos from these places. I started as a locksmith doing surveys of schools to how they can prevent these people from getting in. I'm like, why aren't we doing that nationwide and then implementing those changes? You can't tell me that it's a financial thing, because let's start with Columbine that shocked the nation. It pushed all this anti-gun, it galvanized a lot of people towards gun control. I was like, September 11th happened, and by November we had the TSA, and they were figuring out how to put up, pat down everyone getting on the plane, check everything you brought on the plane, having you walk through metal detectors. They came up with an entire protocol to make sure the exact thing that happened on 9/11 didn't happen again, and they did it within 2 months. We're going over 25, almost 25 years, and we haven't done this to every school in the country yet. Don't tell me in a quarter century that couldn't have been financed.
Well, I would look at it and say in a quarter century, you've only needed it, you know, a total of a couple of times. And those are the, you know, ask anybody in the world, probably, if you want to bother the United States, what do you do it, and what do you do it with, and where do you do it? Right. And that's because they've made it the soup du jour, or whatever, the violence du jour. They'll stop everything and talk about it. And then count everything to the exclusion of the real issues, right? The real problems that cause violence. They're going to ignore the consequences of the causes that. They're going to ignore the consequences of the causes, of the violence that's happening, and they're going to blame it on the item. So, there's so many things wrong with that. Well, we're reaching to the choir at this point, and it's Saturday morning. We're supposed to be doing Ask Gun questions, not yell to the same people about stuff we already know. So that just happens, I guess. But if we're talking about new people and we're talking about having those first conversations with them, and them asking those kind of questions. But okay, so this is 30 minutes in. Nobody's listening to this anymore as an Ask Gun question. So if they're this far into it, they're still listening, then we're talking 2A, I guess. We've got Worthwhile Fun out there. We've got Smeggy out there. We've got DJ, Mike White, G23, All People, Gizzards out there. If I'm missing people, say something. But all people that have had conversations about this or with other people and have had experience with it. That's something that we don't see any of the national level organizations orchestrating. Actually, I shouldn't say that. NAGA has done it. National African American Gun Owners Association has participated. They've hosted some roundtables, and I don't know why they didn't keep doing them. If it was a pain in the ass or just didn't get enough, whatever reason to keep doing it. But they've participated in a couple that I thought were pretty awesome, mainly because nobody gets invited to these things except for like Professor Yamane. And he quit YouTube, so he's not really getting any results from sharing his experiences. And that's where we've got some failures, I think. So the national level organizations are gung-ho. Like, all they can do is spend money on court cases. That's all they can do. They make however many tens of millions of dollars a year. They don't do much besides memes and court cases. And when they win a court case, it's awesome. And the rest of the time, that's all they want to talk about. They're like the hammer and nail thing. They're hammers, period. So we've got other boxes, though. We've got that soapbox, and we've got what's the other one? There's another communication box. Yeah, the ballot box. But I thought there was another one sometimes people use. I think they call it there's the jury box, the ballot box, but I thought there's like something about the news. But anyhow, we've got this ability to influence in lots of different ways. And I'd like to see the national level organizations sponsor some debates. Not debates, but conversations. Maj has probably done something like that. I wouldn't be surprised if KD has done stuff like that. But, that's, I'm not going to say fringes, but that's like individuals. That's certainly not championed by, chunks of industry and make it a big deal, something we can hold up above our heads or whatever. Now, to be fair, there's no precedent. They usually just sit around not doing anything. And they're just barely getting around experiencing what it's like to live under Heller, McDonald, Ezel 2, and now New York State Rifle and Pistol Association. The industry had to deal with all that, and everybody wants to scorn the industry. Oh, the industry doesn't help us ever. Well, when the hell have they ever needed to help us? Like, a couple of times we got wailed on out of nowhere. The industry got kicked in the nuts. Would you expect them to like dodge getting kicked in the nuts and somehow, have spidey sense and then win the day? Like, they got kicked in the nuts like the rest of us did. Sure, the ones that kicked them deserve to be outed, but I don't expect them to have precognition or nothing. But at the same time, they can be doing more than nothing. But anyway, so in other words, just because there hasn't been something that already happened doesn't mean we can't start seeing something. We see plenty of other things happen out of nowhere. Why not remove some of this ignorance? And it's ignorance. It's just people that are either intentionally or unintentionally unaware of firearms, and they're gonna be duped and by dumbasses who. Did you see? I'm assuming you didn't watch the whole. I don't even know how many decades of hours, but it was like 12 hours plus of ATF garbage. And that guy I think he's from your place, is Dicioni or whatever, from New Jersey?
Don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know how to spell his name either. He's the bump stock guy who thinks that a bump stock makes it full auto, and he said that in the last hearings. The last
Oh
time it
yeah,
was,
that ignorant dude. I don't think he's from here, but it sounds like something these people would say.
he's either from New
Just
York or
from
New
the-
Jersey, I thought, but this is
Yeah.
his last time around. I think he's not running for office anymore, but which is good. But whenever they were complaining about, oh man, they were complaining about braces, this idiot gets all
Mhm.
mad, uses one of his segments, however they allot time or whatever. He gets up and goes, "This is to fill in to make the rule, like blah blah blah, to fill in the gap because this isn't how there's not all the facts here." I think that's what he's like. This is to fill in the hole in the facts. And here's another pistol brace, and it's a bump stock. He puts up
Mhm.
into the record. He puts some bump stock into the record. So if this guy literally can't figure out the difference between the two things that are at like national level scrutiny at this point, then he's not capable, or he's
Mhm.
fake. Like he's lying, or he's not capable, right?
Yeah. It's either way. It's like you shouldn't be there and you shouldn't speak on it because, again, you're intentionally lying or you don't know what you're talking about, and that should not be something that you should be voting on. Like you're ignorant. Now, I don't know if it's willful or not, but you're ignorant and you're not willing to learn what you're talking about. And I think it's great that you pointed out and that people there pointed it out. I think was it Massey pointed it out that he didn't know what he was talking about. And then he tried to save himself and he just dug the hole deeper. He doubled down on stupid. But very few people, watched that whole thing. I know I didn't, and I only saw clips of it.
Sorry, I'm having troubles with my. I'm gonna have to just go nuts and put them on the credit card. I'm trying hard not to put money on the credit card, but
Mhm.
these fans are driving me insane.
Oh, and by the
Hopefully, it's.
way, the 4 boxes of Liberty in defense of Liberty: soap box, ballot box, jury box, cartridge box.
I thought there's 5 though.
Mm,
There's not a press box, something like that.
I just Googled it and then I looked up the speech of Frederick Douglass where he mentioned them.
Oh, well then there you go. Yeah, he's probably right. The guy who invented it is probably right.
Oh, okay. Here, I see what you're saying. The web page is featured today. 5 boxes reserved by freedom: soap box, ballot box, witness, jury, and cartridge. And then there's a 6 that says cash, soap, ballot, witness, jury, and cartridge.
Oh my goodness,
Yeah,
that's too
no
many.
one. Yeah, that's way too many. No one's
Nobody
ever
needs that
gonna
many boxes. We should have a limit on boxes.
I watched 4 Boxes Diner. He's a YouTube channel. He's a lawyer, Supreme Court attorney, and he really has some good breakdowns almost on a daily basis. His name is Mark Smith, I think. He was a speaker at Gun Rights Policy Conference, and he's one of the people who I enjoyed listening to speak that I haven't, that I didn't already know. Let me throw that out there before I sound like an a-hole. Yeah, Mark W. Smith. He's found at 4 Boxes Diner on Twitter and YouTube. And he also sees you on the Fox contributors because he's up on there now talking about Pennsylvania. Oh, that's from November. Never mind.
Well, he's definitely what do you call it? Thinking about the courts all the time. I think of the what the DC project is doing as far as going and meeting representatives. That changed the playing field because that has nothing to do with court cases. Court cases are once bad law is written and then somebody's damaged by it. You have to wait for somebody to get damaged by it, and then the stars have to align and enough people have to be damaged and enough money has to be raised. None of us have any kind of transparency or awareness of, so that somebody decides, okay, it's time to make one of these cases happen. At least that's how it's happened for Heller, McDonald, Ezel, and New York State Rifle and Pistol Association, and then fill in the blank with all the state level ones and other ones that we either know about or don't know about. So there's this massive amount of infrastructure or behind the scenes or whatever you want to call that, like, nothing we can do anything about except pay for it. and then be happy once it happens, when it's dished out. But the stuff that we do have influence on, like the DC project has done, I think there's a lot of power there, and we just haven't, like I say, there's no precedent for it yet, so nobody's doing it. But we're ripe for that, for an organization that gets out and is just about awareness. We have the NSSF, and they've attempted it, but they suck so bad. I mean, I don't get paid by them, and I'm on their side and everything, but I'll also call them out when they suck. And they're just like, right now, I don't know if you're paying attention to them. They're putting out this, paying way too much effort, unless they're making money doing this. They're putting out all this information on scopes and stuff. Like, where do they even get off? Why would they even think they need to talk about scopes when we've got experts on scopes getting paid by the people that build scopes to tell us about scopes in crazy, awesome ways while they're doing interesting things? We don't need our agency that could be doing 100 other things, at least 12 other important things, telling us about scopes, spending any amount of time, wasting anybody's time, sucking at telling us about scopes. And it's really well, but it sucks compared to the amateurist person who's interested in scopes. So, we've got these organizations that probably are on our side and everything, but, they're not ambitiously trying to compete for our attention or our freedoms. They're just in it, treading water to a lot of extent. I don't mean to be a downer, but you know what I'm saying? Like I don't, maybe you don't know what I'm saying, but I'm not trying to be a downer, but there are strategies that we're leaving on the table, which are the real strategies. Like what Maj does when he goes out on the street and just educates people. Nobody asked for a free lesson or whatever, a free class. He's just standing there doing it. And right there, it shows like, wow, these people actually give a shit enough to come out and explain their point of view, while we're getting beat up on. Like that, they must be getting beat up on if they're willing to stand out here in the street and tell us their position, right? Instead of whining and complaining about one dangerous item. I don't want to say whining because I don't mean to disregard the, people that are suffering, but they're being exploited. So I have to, I'm talking about that.
Well, they are being exploited. Their trauma and strategy is being used. And then if they don't,
and they are, because they it's like, oh, we can help you with something here. Just help line our pockets, help keep people misunderstanding everything, and makes you feel.
And if they don't co-sign, they're immediately dropped. No one talks to them anymore. And if they do, they end up being played like the Brady campaign or whatever, convince these people to sue firearms manufacturers and violating the Commerce Protection Act or whatever you call that, and they lost in court, and then they had to pay like $300,000 lawyer fees and all that stuff to like firearms companies, and it's like, well, where do these Brady people go that can convince you to do all this? Oh, they're gone. So now it was like a husband and wife that were school teachers or something. It's like, yeah, okay, now you owe firearms manufacturer that you sued, you owe them six figures. Like where'd Brady and all of those go? They were like, new phone, who this? So yeah, they're being exploited, they're being played. We're just trying to have people keep their rights and actually talk about how do we protect people. I'm like, but and as far as Maj goes, Maj puts the work in. And I think one of the reasons that we're failing is because the anti-gun movement is not grassroots. It is not individuals, but the pro-gun movement is. So you have people that have their own ideas of how things should run. I mean, I started mine, Maj started his, Diana started the DC project, Phil Smith started NAGA, and we all have individual ideas about how to do it. And we're not being financed by one person that's drawing up the plan, overall plan. So yeah, we're in like different directions, but that's how gun owners are anyway. For the most part, they're more independently minded when it comes to things like that. They don't want to conform.
That's what Wayne was afraid of. He was scared everyone would be under the NRA's umbrella, so he did some things so that everyone would do their own thing instead. We owe it all to Wayne. Yeah, but think about that. What if he wouldn't been an a-hole and then everybody was just waiting for the NRA to save everything? It'd be like we're talking about right now.
Yeah, I think so too. Because NRA, again, and I tell people this in conversations, if we had one big organization, they would go with whatever is more advantageous for that one big organization. And they would cut people loose. I mean, imagine if the NRA had 80 million members. It still wouldn't protect everybody in every state. New Jersey probably still be on its own. You would still need places like New York Rifle Pistol Club. You'll still need organizations like N Association of New Jersey, ANJRPC, to sue here in Jersey. No one's going to sue a county, on the NRA level. No one's going to come in and sue a county or a township. No one's going to write a sheriff a letter going, hey, you're violating state law by denying people these permits or delaying the permitting process. So we're always going to need smaller local groups to fight for us on a local level. And we can't depend on large organizations to do it. So that's one of the advantages that the anti-gun movement has. But the advantage we have is we're everyday people and we're doing this. They don't really have. They have paid people that do this and then some volunteers.
Yeah, they got no advantage. They got nothing that works. So they just wait to prey on victims. They literally are waiting around. They make all their profit off of bad people and evil. So that part is advantage us because we can do good all the time. We can speak the benefit of prevention and awareness. And right now, here's another day that how many guns are there? Nothing happened. Here's yesterday. Nothing happened. Guns are so bad. Here's yesterday, the day before that. Nothing happened. Like guns are not that bad. So Mike is saying we're getting pulled in 10,000 directions. Yeah, I mean, I like the Marines. I think it was a Marine when they were surrounded. Said, "Good, we got them just where we want them." Because it's pretty freaking easy when we all got our backs to each other and we're being attacked in 360 because we're all standing where we want to be standing. So if they're going to attack us as our geography, right on. We got state level organizations for just about everything, literally everything. Puerto Rico, maybe not some of the stuff in the Pacific as much as we could have, but if we had organizations at the national level that helped make awareness of that, then we would definitely, because we have enough people that have interest and passion about those islands, nations, or states, whatever they're called, territories, right? We could be helping those folks just as easily. And then come at us at some area of interest. Again, we've got multiple people, like pretty much everything. There's probably a couple of places that we don't have anything, like the elderly. Name the AARP of guns. Why isn't there? We have one of the largest populations of humans on the planet that were born after World War II, aging into an elderly group, and we don't have an AARP of guns. You would think one of the exploiters who profit off of us would at least make one. I'm sure they'll make the first one. But, there's a couple of other massive gaps in our gun ownership or whatever, where we don't have like real good somebody to represent collectors. Nothing represents collectors, and every person that's got more than 4 guns, guess what? You're a collector because you're not shooting that one because it's the first one or the one you're saving for your kid or it's the one that's worth something. You don't want to waste it. Everybody's a collector, and we aren't emphasizing that or even playing with that a little bit. And we're all capitalists. We're allowed to be collectors and jump on that and play with it. And if you're planning on giving your guns to your kids, what are they going to run around holding all of them all the time? They're going to be collectors. So I don't know why we're not emphasizing that a lot more. Museums and all that, of course. But so we've got things that we're missing, but we've got so much covered, like so much covered that we've got multiple organizations in most cases, except for some of the states that are on their ass, sitting on their ass. We got multiple coverage for just about everything. And that's where I think it's an advantage. And if we had national level organizations that weren't either totally funneled on getting your money every month or one year or whatever, just so they can do lawsuits that every once in a while they trickle a win out. And all the rest of the time they talk about how they're so much going to fight. Oh, we're all going to fight. Well, there's 3 or 4 of them fighting. Like, how are you even like playing zones? Like, what the fuck? Are we paying for 4 of you to go stand in line at the same place? Are we winning with that strategy? Like, there's no national organization or coordination that I'm aware of. So, we don't have anything national that illustrates that or attempts to. So until we have that, I think we're leaving a lot on the table. But like I say, we've got a lot of potential here. Even without all of that, we've got individuals. So again, going back to the Marines, all standing back to back. We have to stand back to back because there's no room to turn around. Every time we turn around, we're fighting with one of each other, and pretty much everybody stops at him so pretty quick. There's just very few ongoing feuds internally. When they happen, they get water dumped on them pretty quick because we've got attacks coming from all around. But when you're getting attacked from all around, I mean, who hasn't been fought like that? If you've never fought back to back with other people, you don't realize how fun it is when you start fighting like that because there's nothing to lose. You're already back as far as you can get. Every punch is a win. And once the enemy starts to figure out that you're not losing, you win. It's fun.
As somebody that works in New Jersey at the Second Amendment level with the advocacy groups, who knows the presidents, knows the officers, you know what I'm saying? I'm considering myself friends with these people. So we have the conversations about who doesn't like who and have been doing it for years. But then when Berlin happened, everybody teamed up like Voltron, came together and was like, oh yeah, we got to beat these people down, and just started bringing lawsuits and writing amicus briefs, and just working together. And I'm like, I know these people don't like each other on a personal level, but they're coming together for this fight. And that's fine. As long as we're not working against each other, it doesn't have to be a love fest. And when it comes time to work together, we do. As long as you don't tear other groups down, unless those groups are, what's the term, grifters?
Yeah, there's only a couple. There's literally only like not even a handful, and I mean, like very few, less than a handful, less than you can count on one hand, I would think. I'd have to sit here and think about more than a couple, really.
I
there must be a couple.
Yeah. I know two, and that's it off the top of my head on the national level. And on the local level, I've never really heard of them. If you
and the ones that when you used to maybe 5-6 years ago, there'd be like bickering. Oh, well, there's two of them, blah, blah, blah. Well, since then, they've both done stuff. So if like two of them don't like each other, but they're both doing stuff, then that's two people on the same side. They don't have to, like you say, they don't have to love each other. But if you got somebody growing wheat and somebody growing corn, they're not really competing with each other, but they're also both helping, so it's like we've got some of that going on out there where they're kind of both existing and not really helping or hurting each other. I can't think of two. There's a couple of Colorado's got all the rivalries. I can't think of maybe California, and I can't even think of any ones in California that are
going back and forth, bickering with each other.
Yeah, like, or even if anything, it's like we're working on this, and we think this is more important. Well, we think this is more important. Well, honestly, good. Then both of you go do your own thing, and we all think it's both important. So good, right? Like we all win that way. And there's only a couple of places where they all step on each other, like I say. So, and the times of where I guess that's what I was saying, is like the times when they have stepped on each other in the past, they've figured out that nobody wins when they do that, and then they've kind of quit. Oh, Michigan might be the other one. I'm not really paying attention to Michigan enough. It's a tough one to keep track of. And then I don't know, maybe Pennsylvania, but I think it's more of like the Pennsylvania is just so big that the people on one side don't know what the people on the other side are doing. If something's going on, I mean, Pennsylvania is giant, right? So the stuff happening on one end of it is probably different than the stuff happening on the other end of it.
Yeah, because you have different areas. I mean, you have Pennsylvania around Pittsburgh, and then you have all the middle of Pennsylvania that is not like either of those areas. And
yeah, they're worried about hunting and whatever.
Yeah,
right?
Think about the size of PA, and it's like, yeah, you have different areas. You have everything from Philly to the Amish in one place, and it breaks down differently what their concerns are. But the bad part is the population centers push the politics. So yeah, you'll have groups with different things. I know New Jersey has like a hunting 2A group that you can't get to participate in anything until it comes to hunting laws, and then all of a sudden they're in Trenton like a tsunami, like throwing their weight around. And it's like, well, where were you when it came time to, the permitting questions or the carry questions? Oh, that's not what we do. We hunt. And it's like, yeah, could you help us out here? No. Just no.
So G23 said earlier, he believes that we all have a lot of turnover. Wait, he believes that we have a lot of turnover in the 2A realm, but because of all the cliques. And if you disagree with one, then you're attacked by all the ones in that clique, like a bunch of high school girls. And then I think he might have gone on from that. I think that's probably the case, but I think that would be the case even if there was just the NRA, right? Like we didn't, something happened, it was like a good NRA, everybody liked it, everybody was a member. You'd still have the whatever they are, the people that are long range shooters that like to shoot at little tiny pieces of metal, and then there's people that are long range shooters that like to shoot at little tiny pieces of paper, and they hate each other because they think each other are dumb, and they're both shooting, they're almost the same. Like all other gun people are like, why would you want to worry about shooting so far away, so accurately? We don't understand that. But then they can't understand each other because some of them are not going to oversteel and some of them are popping holes in paper, and they, it's like cursive, and it's just, it's like two sides of a coin. Like they're both the coin. They just don't realize that, they're both in a weird realm. So if the NRA was just the only organization, we'd still have all these fractions or cliques or whatever. I don't think that's a negative. I think that's fine. I mean, name an organization, even the Borg, they're going to have Borgs that clean and Borgs that fix and Borgs that attack and Borgs that cook dinner, right? Or whatever they do. Borgs eat some kind of slurry.
Look, we as humans separate ourselves a lot, and this is not going to be any different. This realm of activism isn't going to be any different than anything else. I don't think there was, and this is people fighting for rights. I don't think there has ever been like a monolithic group of people fighting for your rights. Even like the Black Civil Rights Movement, they had people that willing to do it different ways. You had the Southern Christian Leadership, I think that's what it was called, and the Martin Luther King Jr. that had the whole nonviolence thing. But then you had Black Muslims, and they were like, "Yeah, no, I'm not turning the other cheek." And you had Black Panthers, so you had different groups that were fighting for the same thing, but they were going about differently. And I think it's necessary. I think it's good.
Yeah, you're stronger than
Because exactly, you have different tactics, you have different methods. Someone can't fight you all off. The backstabbing and the subverting each other isn't as big of a problem as you think. Now, people sniping at each other online, that's just going to happen because you have the anonymity of the internet also.
Well, I think
Um,
it's rogue. So you think of like sports, and you got your, I don't know how it works, but you got your sports, like your football has something like NFL and something else, right? And then other things. So you can play football, but you're playing if you play football in the NFL or in college, that's different. And I know there's different female football or indoor foot. Like I don't know, there's all the different kind of sports, but there's these different things. So again, whenever you're talking about this stuff, you're still going to get times when there's going to be people have their different strengths and skill sets. We're going to need attorneys all over the place. We're going to need, I don't know, whatever, people with money all over the place. I don't know what all we need everywhere, but we're going to need certain people some places, but we're going to need the same kind of people in every group. Plus, I was going to also say that gives people who have something to offer a place, a realm, like a spectrum, right? They don't have just like everybody needs to dig a hole. Well, I'm good at brain work. Well, and you need to dig a hole with your brain then, because that's what we need is holes. We have a lot of stuff going on that gives people a place to sit down and be effective or useful, or at least interested and to participate. But then I think that it's also that kind of, at least, and it's not like we need this. We have this already. It's just, I guess I was saying with sports, you've got, is it the NFL? What is that called? League or something? Yeah, league, right? NFL league. So,
yeah,
and they give you rules. The uniform's got to look like this. I don't know what the rules are, but whatever the rules are. And then at least everyone then can know that there's like that overall structure. Maybe that's what I'm saying. If there was some kind of overall structure, and I don't know if some organization needs to do it or if somebody just needs to say it so that it's said, and then people can go, oh, okay. And then they can realize it's like, yeah, we're not being pulled in so many directions. We've got, like, what's the word, resources at all these fronts. Like we're strong in all these directions.
well, it's like NFC and AFC, right? I mean, it's like you don't have to have a team, and it's only two teams in the nation to play in the NFL. you have all these teams, and you have, again, like, and then they play, but the NFL is all cashing those checks. And I think we're all benefiting from having multiple groups that are pushing from different directions. Um, and I've luckily doing what I do and making sure that the diversity shoot is not another Second Amendment advocacy organization. It's a workshop. You get to meet these people and learn how to advocate. Like, I'm not seen as competition. You know what I mean? I'm not seen as somebody with membership that's taken away from others. And I think that helps with what I do. It's like, no, this is not about that. This is about learning. And I think more people should do that. Introduce people. Hey, you don't like this group? You don't get along with these people on your local level? All right, cool. Go to this meeting. What? Yeah, totally different group. Overall,
Or start a
same
new
goal.
one.
Yeah. Well, my whole thing about starting new ones is that let's go and visit the others and see what kind of work they're doing first.
Yeah.
Because I've seen the new groups start and they're like, oh, we're going to do this. And I'm like, there's already a group doing that. Did you even know them or talk to them? Oh, but they're not doing it right. Do you even know what they're doing? Because, and I've met,
Well, I
they're
don't
younger
disagree, but you get there has to be a wave anew, because
people.
then everybody just gets dissatisfied with the tradition or the norm or whatever, like the existing, and they'll just get frustrated and leave. So is when the news come along, one, that's an opportunity for something, some dynamically, some a different tangent or whatever, a different direction. But then if it's a failure, then everybody knows, okay, we at least tried that, or at least we know that things are being tried. So I don't have a problem with the new ones. I don't like it when new ones come in and go like, everything else is wrong and everything's wrong, burn it all down, and we're the only thing you need. Because unless they've got a really, really good track record, which no one has, they can't justify that. But coming in and being like, I think we could try this, or hey, let's add this to the mix.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a value to that. And then if you get people that are capable that start to stretch, then they start to figure out, okay, I can do this. I can help 2 groups. Okay, I can help 3 groups. I can help 3 groups sometimes. And 4th group comes along, they know, okay, I can't help that group. And now, I think that's where we get stronger too, because then the new
Mm-hmm.
groups don't think, okay, I mean, that's, if we don't get new groups coming in, then there's not an incentive for even the newer groups to come in to replace them. And if you don't have new groups coming in, the groups that exist start to think, I got nothing to lose. Nobody's coming in to replace me. You got to do what I want or nothing. So,
Yeah, that's not where I'm coming from, but yeah, I know what you mean. Uh,
okay.
because it's like, hey, guys, what's going on? It's like, I got you, and I understand that there needs to be new groups, but don't you want to find out who's doing what, or you're just going to start your group up and go, hey, no one's ever done this? It's like, there's 2 other groups doing that. Like, why don't you check out what they're doing before you trash them? And that was my issue with like one of the new groups who I work with, and they've actually come to my place. And it's like, I mean, did you guys ever join any other groups and check out what they did? And I'm not pooping on you. Hey, start a new one. You have a bunch of young people. You have that young energy. You want to get stuff done, and I appreciate it. But you can get it done without making enemies in the same, or on the same side. But if you want to do you, do you. I'm not going to poop on you. I'm just saying there's different ways to do things without causing hate and discontent.
For sure. Let's see. Worthwhile Fun is saying, I've changed ladies' minds by just by explaining why an AR-15 would be the best option for someone small and weak, plus connecting or correcting the wrong thinking that they shoot faster than other semi-autos. I don't know if we get that opportunity as dudes. Maybe we can help other dudes. Maybe once in a while a lady. You probably get the opportunity more than I do. I just don't get that. Not that many ladies listen to me.
Well, I think one of the ways it helps is if someone knows you. You can't. It doesn't help if you try to do it with people who don't know you at all. And DC projects she's talking about. Jersey's DC project. I've helped the National DC project and work with Diana and all those. And also now I'm speaking. We have a speaking engagement in June. That's a fundraiser for the New Jersey DC project that I can't wait to be a part of. Because they broke it down in the state levels too. Diana came up with this one, I think either last year or the year before, mainly because everything got smashed together with COVID. So I didn't see people as much as I used to. But she started breaking it off into state level organizations too, because the ladies at DC Project travel from around the country on their own dime to the nation's capital multiple times a year, and that gets expensive. So instead, she also opted to do state level that people in one state can head to their capital, and that's a lot less expensive and a lot quicker trip, depending on how big your state is. I mean, in Jersey, it's a 2 hour drive from anywhere, maybe three, depending on traffic, but you can still get to Trenton and meet with somebody and get home the same day. It doesn't have to be an overnight stay. So I think that's really great that she's doing that. We live in a state where a lot of cities are over 225,000 people. And that's the difficult part if you're not willing to stand up. You know what I mean? Like Jersey City, Newark, Camden, um, Newark, Camden. You got places like Irvington right outside of Newark. You got Union City. You have a lot of blue places, but you also have women that are in those places that depend on a firearm to keep themselves safe, and they really need to be heard. They really need to make their voices heard in places like this. As the rest of the country is starting to learn, there are no free states. We're going to have to fight for each and every one of them. We're going to have to fight in every capital because the Bloombergs and the Giffords, as if they're two different things, but they're the exact same funding behind them all. Their strategy is to fight on the local level now.
Well, to spread their money around, because it wasn't working to just pour it. They were pouring it at the NRA was lobbying the national level to keep the debate at the national level, essentially, then supporting the local fights. And while that was happening, we were getting at CCW and all these different states from nothing. People don't remember that we grew up. Most of the country grew up without even the concept of carrying a gun, because it was unthinkable, it was unfathomable. There was no precedent at all except for TV shows. So that started happening, and then you got that money pouring into the lobbying side of NRA, and that's what they used to complain about. They still complain about this, like lobbying of the NRA, the millions of dollars the NRA lobbies, right? And then and they do. They lobby a bunch of money. That's like a big chunk of their budget used to be, and still probably is, lobbying to make sure that there's awareness and that politicians know what gun owners are thinking, blah blah blah. So the other side of that is Bloomberg pouring his money in. So he was able to pour it into on the scale into a couple of lobbyists who would compete with LaPierre, who was their lobbyist, and that was the deal. That's why they were pouring millions of dollars at LaPierre, so that he could go do the same bullshit with the stuff that the Bloomberg guy was doing. Well, that wasn't working because it's not working anymore. And now that there's things like you just mentioned, DC Project and a million other things that have diversified the arguments, and the whole idea of like, just take the guns away and it's over, just like the drug war. Just make guns or just make drugs illegal and it's over.
Mm-hmm.
They can't stand on that argument. Just take guns away. That's all we need to do, is just take the guns away and it's over. If you scrutinize that at all, it's over. It's a dumbass argument. It doesn't make sense in real life. So the fact that people have been able to, chip away at that dumbass black and white thing that the NRA was happy to, like, no, my rights, because that worked. Everybody's like, oh, it was simple and dumb. Like, no, it worked. Why would you get all complicated when it was working for them? Like the antis would come up and go, you can't have them. And they'd say, yes, we can. And then it'd be like, dang. And they'd go home and they'd both have their money. And that's how we were fighting against the guy with the money. So now what he's doing is he's taking that hose and he's pouring it into a watering can or whatever. And he's showering it down on lots, droplets of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars here and there, instead of a big funnel of money into a couple of organizations and a couple of lobbyists in order to just dupe a bunch of people. It's getting way harder to do that. So he's got to diversify that money into lots of different streams out there. And that's where we win, because all he can do is put one message out all that many times. He can't find passionate people that give that much of a shit. The best he can do is hire marketing firms. And, that just doesn't work when you've got real people who are devoted to stuff on the other side. But anyway, I'm just kind of distracted. I think that his reaction has been sort of because the realm keeps changing, or the playing fields keep changing.
Well, I think what he ran into was the women, dude. I love the ladies from the DC project because they're 100%. So diverse. They're so
well, the Girl in a Gun is meeting this weekend. That's 600 strong again, and that's massive. That's up training their skill sets, and that's all like ladies up training their skill sets every year. That's beyond like back in the day. It was, here's your pink version, because what the hell else are we going to go off of? Everybody acts like we were trying to prove something. Like we didn't have nothing else. Like, here, what do you want us to do? Here's a pink one. How about that? And then they were like, okay, sew a pocket in this purse. And then it's beyond that now, right? And that's because of the involvement in the industry and the ownership of companies, and the keeping track of their instructors and their this we call customers, like people that carry, and all that feedback. Imagine the feedback that's happening this weekend, and that's a whole nother layer of organization. And each of those 600 ladies goes back and is either in charge of or the instructor for like a group of 20 or more. So that's massive reach, and that's not even a well-armed woman.
Yeah, a well-armed woman, Girl in the Gun, Shoot Like a Girl, DC Project. And those are the ones I think off the top of my head. And I've, I'm friends and have met a lot of these women. And it's like, dude, a nurse, a this, a that, a teacher, retired this. So they come from all walks of life. And the diversity of thought and experience is there. Now, not a diversity in skin color a lot. But if you consider it's a sport also. I mean, 3 out of 4 of these things I just brought up are sports shooting. Well, it's growing, the number of people that are minorities from different groups, Asian, Hispanic, Black. Those numbers are growing too, with people like JJ Racaza, people like Gabby Franco, and people are like, holy crap, that person looks like me. Let's get involved in this. And now all of a sudden, this sport takes on another level. The firearm takes on another level. It's not just for home defense. It's not just an idea that if something goes wrong, I have this thing. It's something you pack up and get together with like-minded people and have a great time over the weekend that you're working to protect. It's real now. It's a right that you're actually exercising, and not just in theory, but in fact. And I think that needs to happen. And I think it's a wonderful thing. The more we grow, the more we bring other people in. I can't wait. It's going to be huge. We're only going to grow and get better. And I'm seeing it from my events that grew for the last 8 years in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. And now people around the country are actually asking us to show up. And I have dates for I actually have dates for the one in Kansas and another one for the one in Lincoln, Nebraska, coming up in less than a month. Actually, in a month. So it's like this thing is growing, man, and because with the Supreme Court wins and with the activation of local level groups, we're going to hear a lot from the anti-gunners because they're desperate and they're losing. So they will be dumping a lot of money into candidates and into ads and into more bots or whatever you want to talk about on the internet. I've noticed like David Hogg and those, the typical crew of anti-gun people are saying more and more ridiculous things, like desperately ridiculous things that are easily proven false. And I think they're doing it to try to just get numbers moving, the analytics on their things, let more people see their argument.
Exactly. And it might be testing to see like what people are going to react to or whatever, but yeah, blatantly inaccurate and just
it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't
just
kind
of almost random.
Yeah, and I actually stopped. I was like, nope, I'm not repeating any of the stuff he says, because there's a strategy going on here that I'm not sure what it is. But because I've been on Twitter long enough, I've watched.
Yeah, exactly. Like if they say Twix made with jelly, that's a weird thing to say. And if they put that out into the world, Twix made with jelly, and now you're saying it and somebody else is saying it, now they can go to a robot and say, who all said Twix made with jelly? And give me the footprint of where that went on the internet. You don't think they're paying for that? And now they can look at everybody on that chain and have information about who you listen to and who listens to you. And yeah, there's a lot of that kind of stuff happening from non-state players, and that could easily be, especially when that guy went to the school that has a dumb name that everybody doesn't like because it's snooty. Same thing, right? Now, so how many of us are talking about that? Well, that's that kind of influence that guy's got. You know, when it comes time to worry about how much money the guy's got, like, hey. So I agree with you. I don't try to use nobody's names when we're talking about the people that are desperate to exploit our situation that they've created, that they, you know, take off. Anyway, so that's where we're winning, is the awareness of that, and they're less able to just, you know, claim, oh yeah, if we just removed guns, this would be easy, and the gun owners just love violence. It's just that easy. It's just a stupid ass argument, and they're laying on it. They don't have anything else. So I think that's an indication, like you're saying, that they're really just grinding it in. Like they're landing without gear. They don't think they're ever going to take it off again. At least that's what I'm hoping. You know, they're just like done with it. So let's just get whatever we can out of it and try to walk away.
I think it helps with groups like ourselves. What's his name, son, from the Second Amendment? That's
Andrew. Andrew.
Yeah, Andrew. Andrew is putting together the gamer thing with firearms, and so is Rolando and Johanna over at Locked and Loaded.
Locked and Loaded did it a million times more, and they're actually doing it. Dude said he was gonna, and he did do like 4 streams back in whenever he said he was gonna in 20. So it's 3 years ago he said he was gonna, and he hadn't done nothing since.
Oh, really?
It would have been cool. I agree, but I don't know why it died. But it completely didn't even really get off the ground. But Locked and Loaded, they're gaining probably 90% of their time online at this point, and then they come up for air on Sundays once in a while when stars align, and they'll get into guns. So they're bringing people to guns that no one is. I mean, on 6 different levels, they're bringing people in. There's no couple out there being cool as a couple that's pro gun.
No,
I guess you could say Diana and her husband, but they're like sports people and almost celebrity level. And I don't count celebrities like Miklik. That don't count.
Yeah, so, I mean, Diana and her husband, but here's the funny thing, because I talked to him. It's like, yeah, but it's always Di, in my opinion. Like she's.
Yeah, I mean, they are a couple, but that's their, you know, the Locked and Loaded is the only other one that's out there.
Yeah. Yeah, because Diana and her husband, even Beth Alcazar and her.
Oh, you know who else? We are missing Cheryl.
Cheryl and Danny, yeah.
Okay. All right, so there's 3 couples then, but that's it.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll
think there's 3 couples. Okay, which is pretty cool though.
Okay, Beth. Right. So
okay.
There's like maybe 6 just to be sure, right? We're covering all of
Yeah, because I'm about to throw out what's her name, Amanda Suffolcool and her brother.
That's not a couple. That's her brother. But I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like duos, though. Yeah, duo. But no, that's the thing. That's how you normalize. That's how you just cover more bases, right? Is by bringing people in and aware. But it's not like, here's your lecture of the week, or here's your obligatory nod your head while I do this part that, you know, I like while you wait for what you like. You know, more of like, hey, we all enjoy this. Look at what else we like. You know, for 1 hour out of I don't have any idea how often they game anymore, but, you know, I'll go online and they're pretty much consistently gaming. I have no idea how long games last, hours probably. So I'm guessing 1/10 of their time is doing their hour show. And again, can you imagine the amount of people? Have you seen the number of their views now? Like their size? They're reaching more people than any national level organization stream. Maybe the Gun Owners of America can reach their numbers on a big ass national level thing, but on a regular, let's go live and talk about something that's, you know, happening in one state, I'll bet you Locked and Loaded get more coverage than them, right?
Oh, you're probably 100% right. Plus, it's really fun to listen to Rolando go off. It's the
Well,
funniest thing
again,
in the
I'm talking
world.
like when they're gaming and stuff too. You know, like
Oh, okay. I'd never
and
heard.
while they're
I only
well,
go ahead.
essentially they're playing a video game with a bunch of people, and then if they're
Mhm.
talking about stuff, they're just talking about whatever. It's just like this, except if we were playing a video game also. So there's people there watching, but they're also listening to what they're saying. And the same way he is on Sundays, he'll be saying stuff during the week. You know, if something comes up. But I'm sure if they're talking about drones, he'll talk about drones. It's not like he drags the conversation over, but he's able to hold his own, and he has an actual position. And he's not like a lot of people who are like, oh, well, when I put that coat on, I don't talk about guns. You know, like, oh, when
Yeah.
I'm on that project, I don't talk about my gun stuff because I don't want to interfere or whatever, blah, blah, blah. He's the opposite. He's out there doing both. And anyway, so DJ saying there's a bunch of pro firearms Twitch gamers. Oh, the Glover couple.
The couple got. Oh, they got to have a name like a couple's name, like
Glover.
Clover. One that's
Close,
going to be pronounced
close,
Glover.
close.
Close. Mm.
Close tactical. They're both tactical, so that
Yeah, close.
works. All right, so we've been going about an hour and 20. Let's hit these couple last ones. I had this one up on the thing for a bit. Mike saying, my wife listens to all the anti-gun stuff while he's at work, and then when he gets home, he has to undo all of that she's listened to. Actually, I think that's probably an interesting exercise because then you don't have to listen to it. You get to hear the gist of it, so to speak, I would imagine, and you can have a conversation about whatever. Because I don't have any interest in it, but I could see the value in having a finger on the pulse of what the antis are saying occasionally, unless it's constantly. If it was every single day, I would kind of get sick of it. But a couple times a week or something, just to see what directions they're going. I could think of worse ways. If your wife doesn't mind, I wouldn't want it to be like a challenge or like a argument. But if it was like, hey, this is what I heard today. Oh, okay, here's the counters to those. Because they're probably not countering them for real on the TV.
Oh heck no! They
Or not
will not
honestly,
be
at
counted.
least.
No.
But with that
Not
being
at all.
said, I don't want to dismiss them just because in the past the media has been a bunch of losers and suck, and they can create divisions so that they can profit off of it. Uh, Things change, and if it's more profitable for people to be more better, maybe people will be better. I don't want to doom them, but yeah, I understand that people are hesitant to say the least, right, about the media at the moment. But to keep moving, Worthwhile Fund says not all the state grassroots.orgs even want to work together. Frustrating that we can't rally together on the good stuff. That's the part that bothers me when they can't come together to rally. Because if it was a football game, you don't all the bars that hate each other. They're in the same town. They're going to the same football team for the same team, right? At least that's how I understand it. Like all the people that hate each other from all these different factions, when it's their town's team to root together, they go put on whatever the colors and the goofy hats are, paint their faces and hold their giant foam fingers or whatever and wiggle them, right? And then they go home and hate each other again. We should be able to do that all the time. Like, what the hell? I don't like people that shoot 9mm. I think that's a decision, and they do it intentionally. They do it to bother other people. But I'll still go rally with them. I don't want to hang out with them.
No, I don't want to have a beer with you. You disgust me.
But I'll defend your right to have that beer.
Yeah, you can drink your beer. Just don't drink it near me.
Mike is saying, talking about Locked and Loaded, they lost him when they started to devote time into gaming. I can't stand it. Oh, I hear you, dude. I do not like it. I don't understand it. I'm too old that I value time too much now. I guess you think when you're little, like, oh, I know everything about time and blah, blah, blah. Because every time you get a minute older, you think you're super old. When you're 20, think about how old you thought you were when you were 20. You're like, oh, I'm so old now. I can do whatever I want. I'm an adult. You think you got all the time in the world. You know what I mean? Like, I can't imagine spending time on a video game. If it wasn't to like make a video game to make money on it or something, or to like sell the video game, like I can't. man, even if I had a broken leg or something, I'd want to do something besides a video game. So it's just not my thing. But if people want
Yeah,
to
it's
do
really
it,
funny.
it's bigger than movies now. I get it. I get people like it. I just don't understand it. But I'm glad they're out there. But I get you. I don't really watch it either. I'll watch every once in a while, and I don't understand the games. I can't understand what the hell they're talking about because they're always talking about references to games and shit. I assume or movies I haven't seen. I've probably seen all the movies they've seen, but I can't keep up with them. I can't play a video game fast, and I don't have any interest in it, so I can't keep up with what the hell's happening on the screen half the time either.
Oh, as somebody who 100% supports their work, yeah, that is not my thing. Not anymore. And I think you and I are about the same age. And it's like, yeah, nah, I'm not doing this for hours on end like I used to. I mean, hey, the first SOCOM, I played the snot out of that thing. And when my wife and I first got together, what was the name of that game? Agent 46? Is that the bald headed guy? They made a movie out of it. The
That was a
Assassin.
Hitman.
Hitman, that was it. Hitman. We played Hitman so much. My wife said, I swear, if I ever have to look at the back of that guy's bald head again, I'm going to leave you. It was like the hours I spent playing that stupid thing. And just now, it's like I have things to do. And if I'm running out of things to do, I'm going to sleep. It's like, because we have the work I'm doing. I also have stuff I need to get done that doesn't get done. Like I just moved last weekend. I still have to unpack all this stuff today. It's like just you got stuff going on, man.
But again, we're just old and not interested in that. I'm sure they're not interested in some of the weird stuff I'd be interested in because of whatever, I got interested in as a kid or whatever. So that's what makes it stronger, though. Again, it's a diversity in that interests.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I motivated them. I mean, I congratulated them when they started. Told them to keep it up. I still support them. If I go on and see us playing, I give it a thumbs up, even if I don't watch it, and keep it moving because they're doing great work.
Well, it's a place to go watch video games so that you're welcome. That's cool. And then I guess I'll also add that they do a ton of other stuff. It's not like they just do video game stuff. It would be cool if we could get a vegan gun owner thing going with some, because there's very few vegan gun owner people that I know out there. But
oh, hold on.
Drones.
Marty's V Burger in New York City. He's a supporter
I was just looking
of
at
me.
that picture again. Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Go ahead.
Okay.
No, go ahead and plug him again, though, because that's awesome.
Yeah, Marty's V Burger. He's a supporter of us. I really wish I had his card. I just took it and put it in my bag. But Marty's V Burger in New York City, he's a supporter of the work I do. He comes in, brings his wife, drops off some ammo every now and again. Check out Gunfire Radio, gunfireradio.com, and you can actually click on it. And it's like 20% off if you mention them, Gunfire Radio, when you make your purchase. And you're supporting a pro 2A dude who's in New York City, a business person. And that's awesome because COVID, knocked his business pretty hard too. They had to shut down their second location, but they still got the one in Manhattan. So support those that support us if you can. Marty's V Burger.
And then back to Locked and Loaded. He's into the drones recently, and although my drone got smashed up, I'm still way into drones. Like I am a big advocate of drones and what they can do. So I can't wait to get a drone again. Definitely in the plans, but after some bills are paid. So they definitely do other things besides the video games, but they're definitely leaning into the video games. And then with tech, I suspect we could have some interesting conversations with tech because they're both pretty savvy. And again, I think there are certain skill sets and stuff that we'd be better off if we just kind of shared with each other. So we'd just be more familiar with the things, even just so we know the things like Telegram or Signal, some of the non-social media based methods of communication that are not necessarily based on our phone numbers. So if we lose our phone, we can still use them, but they're not based on a social media platform, so you don't have to log into nothing either. So you can use them from a phone. You can use them separate from email, but they're they've got their strengths and weaknesses. So things like that would be interesting to chat with. And well, that gets into tangents. I'm trying to wrap it up here. So the next one was from Worthwhile Fun saying, oh, she just said that they can't get together and rally. I think rallies, I don't know, this is Ask Gun Questions, but cool to have a chat about rallies at some point. I think rallies are super valuable. And I know I don't know how many, there's definitely more people that hate rallies than there are people that advocate for rallies, because we would have more rallies if it was more even, I think. But that's a whole other topic. Smeggy saying Michigan just passed universal background checks and safe storage laws. I think that's what I was saying about Michigan being a quagmire also. Whenever you got negative stuff happen, everybody starts to point fingers and get bickering at each other, right? Oh, there's definitely 2A gardening, dude. There's a couple of channels. There's just one dude that I follow who does shorts all the time. I think it's Black Guns and Gardens. And I only watch the shorts mostly, but it's like, this I got back from the garden and this is what I'm putting in this. Like I'm upgrading this fountain, or I'm like putting in these tomatoes over here to replace these or stuff. And then, once in a while there's a gun laying out there and he'll talk about I got a new shotgun or something. So, but there's, and then you get into prepping and there's a ton of gardening stuff. Not so much 2A all the time. Preppers are kind of tough to get into 2A sometimes. Okay, so then go ahead.
No, I just looked it up because who's in here? DJ Play Nice, Guns and Garden, and I just clicked on it. That was Mike White. I'm just looking at it because I found it. I think it's great when you have crossover that people are open about. Like you said prior, some people put on, their Pro 2A hat, but then they take it off when they do other things and don't mention it. And I think there needs to be a crossover. I don't think everyone needs to do it that does it. But I mean, everyone needs to do it. But I think there needs to be some outlet that people know you can safely cross over and have an audience too in both. Like people looking for Pro 2A mechanics. Well, why? Because I want to support somebody that has that viewpoint.
Yeah, seriously. Wouldn't that be cool if this national level organization had that kind of thing out there?
So Anthony Calandro actually has that on his website. He did that during the COVID. He did
right, like the support the people that support you type of thing.
Yeah, so what he started doing was finding Pro 2A businesses, and we're talking about from the diversity shoot that I do to caterers to mechanics to tire shops, everything. So yeah, check out his website, and you'll see if you live in Jersey, New York area, there are Pro 2A dentists, Pro 2A doctors. Like they went out of their way to find them and put them there so you can actually visit somebody. And I think it's important in states like Jersey, where they can red flag you for anything. Yeah, maybe you want to change your doctor if your doctor's anti-gun and you slip up and say something about you being at the range. That could be bad. But if you find yourself a Pro 2A doctor like I did, you don't have to worry about that. Like my doctor is Pro 2A and asked me about the range. I have a podiatrist at Pro 2A and I've actually invited him to shoot in competitions. I'm just trying to get him to one because he works on Fridays. And that's when we host the events, but we're trying to get him to one. So yeah, Anthony's done that. And I think it's important that people do that crossover. It could improve your business too. If you let people, it could also cost you some business. Be aware.
Yeah, I think there's the awareness, so that's the thing. And that person who might, as a reaction, leave as a customer, perhaps think twice after they miss your service or your products, and then, or the distance that they travel or whatever it was that they found appealing. And then, when they come back, there's that potential to have a conversation. Mm-hmm. I don't know. But, I mean, it's not like, hey, I'm 2A. And if you're not, fuck off, right? Because you're just saying, hey, we're 2A and proud or whatever. Then that person says, oh, I'm leaving. It's not like you're challenging them. Like, hey, you're wrong. So when they come back and you're like, hey, welcome back as a customer. It's not like you're trying to convert them, I guess. But
Nope.
I think that's normalization when you're not pushy or whatever those words are.
100%.
And then the last one is Worthwhile Fund saying DC project mission is to come alongside the other states' orgs and help them if we can and when we're wanted. No way we want to belittle the decades of work that's been done before us. I think the DC project is doing stuff that maybe some of the other organizations are adjacent to, but the way the DC project is doing it, um, it's not the same. You know, it is different. It's fruit, so it's apples and oranges, but not apples and marshmallows or something. But uh, there's not too many organizations that, at least that I'm aware of, that just keep a presence and an awareness and an open method line of communication focused on 2A at the state level and then at the national level. So I'm from as far as I'm aware, most of the state level organizations are either advocating for new bills all the time, or advocating against bad bills, but they're always like agenda focused. It's never just like, hey, nothing's going on, let's hang out. Just making sure that we're here. I don't want to belittle if any of that work's happening, but that's just, since that's the focus of the DC projects thing, it's not like we're only here when, or when this happens, then we're going to be here. Instead, it's like every whatever it is, June or whatever, like every year at this time, we're going to be here to remind you that we exist and we are gun owners and you can't ignore us. And here's our phone number, essentially. And then, well, anyway, I'm going on. So then, do you have anything you want to throw in on that one?
Oh, no, just they're doing a great job. I'm glad they're on the state level now. I can't wait. I mean, I've supported them already. Oh, I forgot when I did that speech. It was in October last year that I went and did the speech in South Jersey for the New Jersey DC project. Um, and I'll be doing it again this year. We need to find local groups. We need as activists that we support, because some people aren't aware of them. Spread their message and word on your social media. That helps, because some people don't know. Oh crap, we have a Jersey DC project. Yes, we do, and I think it's really worthwhile. You'll meet some great people too.
All right, I'm gonna throw this back up on the screen. Smeggy's got some stuff happening. If you want to take a look, there's a link there, and if you're able, please be generous. We're a community, so it's amazing what 1,000 people can do with $60. Imagine what 1,000 people can do with $60. And once we learn that power, we're pretty much unstoppable, because anybody at any time can be the 1,000 that step up. And once we get used to using that mechanism, then we don't need no Bloomberg. And the Bloombergs of the world realize we don't need them. Then they got to start worrying about how to stifle our $60, which is going to be pretty tough. So I don't wait around for people with $600. I like to remind all of us that when we've got $60 to move it around, we can be super powerful. I've been the recipient of that for projects before. I've been able to move small mountains for groups, and it's definitely something that once you get some practice with it, I think there's a lot of value there. So if you're able,
Totally.
please share it around, and if you're able to participate, please be generous.
And I just looked this up because I'm about to release my tickets again for the May 11th diversity shoot at Gunfire Range. May 18th, I'm going to be at Recoil Range in Jersey. Gunfire is in Woodland Park. Um, Recoil is in Monroe, New Jersey. May 22nd, I'm going to be at Range 54 in Wichita, Kansas. And on May 23rd, I'm going to be at Big Shot Indoor Range and Gun Store in Lincoln, Nebraska. So May is going to be a very busy month for me. And I'm also going to be at Kevin Dixie's Train and Learn Memorial Day weekend. So I'm going to be traveling a little bit. I got another giveaway that I'm doing so it could help raise money for this trip. Battle Horse Knives actually donated a knife to us, and I want to raffle that off and help raise money, raise funds for this particular trip. And also, I'm working towards the 501c3 thing that is active now. because I'm trying to go official after 8 years of doing this and support from people like you guys, and that I've learned, yeah, this can actually work. So I'm about to make it official. So when people donate stuff and company donate stuff, they can actually write it off as a charitable donation. And I think that will help out a lot more than I don't have to worry about where money's coming from for things like traveling. Because I also want to make a trip out to Colorado and work with Guns for Everyone this year, and Edgar and his work. And if you don't know who that is, please go check them out. Guns for Everyone on Twitter, Guns for Everyone on Instagram. And he probably has a .com called Guns for Everyone, but that's Edgar Antione. And he gives out free concealed carry classes, like by the thousands he trains thousands of people every year for free.
Yeah, I think he said something like 10% of the CCWs in Nevada where they're free classes. Colorado, sorry.
Yeah.
Same looking state, but they're next to each other. No, they're not even next to each other. I don't know. I'm getting tired. Yeah. So that was, sorry about that. But that was, he said something like 10% of Nevada's. No, what the hell is it again? Of Colorado's CCWs are through their free classes.
That's awesome. He does great work. And he's bilingual, so he does the Spanish thing too. So you're getting people that might not be comfortable learning all of this in English, like their English. what does Johanna say? My English doesn't smell so good. But then they're getting safety information. They're learning self-defense law in the state of Colorado with a natural Spanish speaker. So even the nuances are right, not just somebody, translating something that doesn't sound right. Because you have the whole fear and everything when you're in class. I know people have that, that doesn't sound right, or I have some questions, but I don't want to ask it because I don't want to sound dumb. And I think the more comfortable someone is with you, regardless of what that comfort level is based on, whether it's based on you speak the same language, come from the same background, or the same gender, it makes no difference. But as long as they're a comfort level that allows them to ask that question so they aren't ignorant, it's helpful, especially when it comes to deadly force law and safety. So he's doing great work. And if you can support him, please do. Hopefully we can work on something to get out to Colorado and do a diversity shoot before it gets too cold.
And there's something to be said too for instructors that have been around the block a few times, because then they'll be able to, I don't want to say anticipate, but be able to tell when a student is, like you're saying, apprehensive or scared to ask a question or something, and they can do whatever needs to be done to break the ice so that the student can have the rest of the class to gain value from, or to open up and start to absorb stuff better. That's where, the kind of experience you get from a ton of classes is a pretty nice asset to, or a resource to the community.
Really does. It really does help that somebody looks like they're over in the corner holding their breath because they don't want to ask what they think is a stupid question. Meanwhile, you've answered that question.
Or you could just answer it exactly, and you can kind of tell that, I'm sure, when then their eyes go, okay, thanks. I was wondering about that. Yeah. All right, well, so then thanks for everybody for showing up. With everything that was bad is Clover's fault. He was supposed to take care of all the stuff that didn't happen. We had arranged to have candy bars and sodas underneath everybody's chairs, but that was Clover's thing. He didn't show up, so I guess we didn't have that. If you've got a candy bar and a soda under your chair, that is from Clover, but I don't know how many people he got out and did that for. But we'll be back next week. Same time, which is at this point, I think 3 p.m. Eastern. Let's see. Paul moved his show, so it's after us now. G23 occasionally does a show. I haven't looked to see who's coming up on the agenda here, but G23 typically runs a show on Saturday afternoons. It looks like Locked and Loaded, who we were talking about earlier, is about to go live here just after the Weekly Bullet. Then Hillbilly Up does a show on Saturdays in the evenings. Let's not forget Great Start Shooting School does a weekly focus on suicide prevention and mental health awareness called Suicide Prevention Saturday. And I don't know what time because Brooke scheduled these things like a month and a half ago, and they're not showing up on my thing. I'd have to dig into her channel to find them. But sometime in the afternoon that'll happen. Is it 7 p.m. Eastern? Maybe. Then I don't think there's an overnight this week, but I'm not sure. Sometimes Foss does an overnight show. So lots of things happen on Saturday. This was one of them. Thanks for spending some time with us. This was all about asking gun questions. So I should mention that askgunquestions.com is the website. So if you want to ask any questions, you can do that at any time. Just go to askgunquestions.com. There's nothing to, well, there's the question. You have to ask the question, I guess, but there's nothing to fill out. We're not asking for emails. It's not some kind of scam. There's no fee or nothing. You just ask the question. And then when we're not blabbing about whatever we blabbed about today, and Clover's back here to keep us on track, then we go answer those questions. You get our experience and our insight and our different opinions on whatever the question is. So DJ is saying that nobody uses Central Time. So we either use Eastern Time or we just have chaos. But if you say if you say Central Time, everybody has to do, it's such a centralist mindset. Everyone has to do math when you use Central Time. So you can use Pacific Time, because that's fair. Everyone has to do math. You can use Eastern Time. Everyone has to do math. But if you use Central Time, that's messed up. That's super messed up. It's like a left-handed person using 9mm and a panhandle.